Hello everyone. So in the last session, we have discussed about the different diseases which are caused due to microbes. Today we are going to talk about one of the very important topic, that is antimicrobial resistance. This is a very important topic, especially for the prelims as well as the mains examination. So here we are trying to look at what are the factors which are responsible behind this antimicrobial resistance, what are the impact of it, what steps has been taken by government in this regard. We are also going to see some of the factual informations related to it. Okay, UPSC has also asked one question related to this in the mains examination. Okay, so we are going to see that what is this antimicrobial resistance and all other related aspects. Okay, so this is the third part of chapter 5, third session of chapter 5 of science and technology book. Okay, we have so far discussed the bacterial, viral diseases and all other related aspects of it. In this session, we are going to talk about antimicrobial resistance and some of the related concepts. Okay, so before going into the antimicrobial resistance, let us see a few smaller topics. Like, we have two different types of diseases. One is called as acute disease, the another one is called as chronic disease. So what is the difference between them? Okay, basically the acute diseases, they manifest abruptly, and if we talk about them, they have a shorter duration. So they start quickly, but they have a shorter duration. Okay, whereas the chronic diseases, if we talk about them, they have an extended duration and often they last for the entire lifetime. Okay, so they can start abruptly and may have a short period of time, but the chronic diseases, they can be lifelong diseases in the body. Okay, now see, if we talk about acute diseases, they can cause harm to the body swiftly, okay, quite fastly. Okay, but if we talk about the chronic diseases, they lead to long-term damage to the patient's body. Okay, in the case of acute diseases, you can see that there is some immediate impact on the body. Like you can see in the case of common cold, jaundice, malaria, they are impacting some of the part of the body immediately. But when the disease is over, we can see that the impact is gone, almost gone. Okay, but in case of chronic diseases like diabetes, like cancer, like tuberculosis, like arthritis, we can see that the impact is often lifelong. It is going to impact the person's organ or its organ systems for a longer period of time, for the extended lifetime. Then, see, in the case of acute diseases, what we can see that the onset is very sudden, means it starts very much abruptly, and they can be treated effectively in most of the cases. Like if we talk about common cold, jaundice, malaria, typhoid, they can be treated quite easily. But in this case, this is the problem which grows on gradually. It doesn't start abruptly, it goes on gradually, and it results in sustained harm to the organs and organ system. Okay, and at the same time, many times getting out of these diseases or treating these diseases is not that much possible. Of course, people survive with it, but then they have to take various cautions. Okay, then see, the outcome of the diseases, like again, acute diseases can also cause death of the person, but in this case, there is more chances of getting fatality. In the case of the chronic diseases, we can see that the chances of this fatality or death of the people, that is more likely. Okay, in case of acute diseases, we have treatments, and if the people are taking medications properly, if their immune system is working properly, they can get out of the disease. But in case of chronic diseases, this becomes a difficult task. Okay, so that is the two different types of diseases, acute and chronic diseases. Okay, now there is another problem which is called as communicable diseases. Communicable diseases are those diseases which can be transmitted from one person to another person. The mode of transmission can be anything. Like we have seen this in case of dengue, in case of Zika virus, or in case of any such viral disease, it is easily being transmitted from one organism to another organism. So when the diseases are transferable, it is called as communicable disease. But suppose that if a person is having a heart attack or any such problem, now this is something which is not transferred from one person to another person via contact. Like suppose if a person is having diabetes, so even if you are dining with them, even if you are near them, it is not that it will be transferred from that person to another person. Okay. So what we see that there are certain non-communicable diseases like cancer, like diabetes. They are not being transferred from one person to another person via contact or via sharing, via transmitted via air, water, or any such media. Okay. So this is one thing which you have to keep in mind. Communicable diseases are transferred from one person to another person, and non-communicable diseases are not transferred or transmitted from an infected person to other person. Now, there is one thing which you have to keep in mind here. Earlier, the prevalence of communicable diseases was quite much there. Okay, they were quite much prevalent especially in the developing countries like India. But right now, if we look into Indian health profile, we can see that around 60% of the cases are coming from non-communicable diseases. They are also sometimes written in paper as NCDs. Okay. So these NCDs, the non-communicable diseases, now they have a higher burden on the Indian health system in comparison to communicable diseases. They nearly account for roughly around 60% of diseases in India. Okay. So that is one important point. NCDs or the non-communicable diseases are increasing. Okay. Now, so we have talked about these diseases. Now there is an emerging problem of the present times, and that emerging problem is antimicrobial resistance. Okay. So what exactly is this antimicrobial resistance? See, the organisms which are there across the world, they have a general process of evolution. Okay. What is this general process of evolution? Suppose that if you look at the normal animals which are surviving in various regions, you might have seen that they have various adaptations. They want to survive in the ecosystem where they are living. Like suppose that if you look at the animals which are living in the polar regions, you might have seen that they have thick fur on their body, like the polar bear, like the snow leopard. They have very thick fur. Now this thick fur of their body is like preventing the heat loss. It is protecting them from the extreme cold of the mountainous regions or extreme cold of the polar regions. So all the organisms which are there, they have some adaptation in order to survive. Now the different microbes which are there, whether it is bacteria, it is protozoa or anything, they also evolve quickly. They also evolve very much quickly. And antimicrobial resistance is basically the resistance shown by these microbes against the medicines or the antibiotics which we are using in order to kill them. Okay. Whenever we are getting some infection, when we are getting some disease, we take antibiotics. Like if we are infected by some bacteria, we take antibiotics in order to kill the bacteria. Okay. But then gradually what has happened that many of these bacteria, many of these microbes, they have developed resistance against that particular medicine, against a group of medicine. And this very phenomena is what we call as antimicrobial resistance. Now the question is, how they have developed this? How the bacteria in our environment, they have become resistant to this antimicrobial or these antibiotics, how they have become resistant towards these antibiotics. What has caused it? What is the factor behind it? So we are just going to look into that, but before that, see a few things. Okay. See, there are certain terms, like there is one term called as superbug. So superbugs are those microbes, superbugs are those microorganisms which has developed resistance in antimicrobial resistance, sorry, and antimicrobial treatments. Like when we are trying to treat those elements, when we are trying to remove these microbes, it is not happening. We are not able to remove them from the body, and that is what we call as superbugs. Okay. And see here, there is one fact also. In India, around 56,000 newborn deaths occur annually due to a problem which is called as sepsis. Now, this sepsis is caused by a bacteria which is resistant towards the antibiotics. Okay, the bacteria have become resistant towards the antibiotics. They cause the problem of sepsis, and around 56,000 newborn children die in India annually due to this. Okay, see, there was a study by Indian Council of Medical Research, okay, across 10 hospitals where COVID-19 patients, they have acquired drug-resistant infections, and the mortality rate reached 50 to 60%. Meaning what? Like there was a study in 10 of the hospitals done by the Indian Council of Medical Research. And what it has observed? It has observed that if a person is infected by COVID and if they have got these drug-resistant infections, then their mortality has increased by 50 to 60%. Means in majority of the cases, these people are dying. Majority of the people who are getting this drug-resistant infection, they are not treated. They do not become treatable. They die due to this antimicrobial resistance. Okay. So when the immunity goes down and the drug-resistant bacteria are emerging, then it becomes a serious challenge for the health ecosystem. Okay. So let us see that what have been the factors which are responsible for this antimicrobial resistance. The very first thing is antibiotic uses in humans. Now this is something we have been using antibiotics so much frequently, so much abruptly. It is not huge, but rather than that, there has been abuse of antibiotics. The people are easily going to the medical shops. They are purchasing the antibiotics without any prescription from the doctor. And they take these doses, they take these antibiotics in their own terms. They themselves prescribe the medicine for their body and then they start taking it. So that is becoming one of the major problems. There is huge abuse of antibiotics in India. Okay. The second important part, pharmaceutical industry pollution. We know that India is one of the leading producer of medicines in the world. Okay. We have also been called as the pharmacy of the world. Now just tell me this, why India has been called as the pharmacy of the world? You can answer this in the comment box of this video. So see, pharmaceutical industry pollution. If we look at this, the pharmaceutical industries which are there, they are producing the antibiotics, but the waste material which they are generating or the rejected medicines which are there, they are simply dumping it into the environment. And when these medicines are going into the environment, what is happening? The bacteria are living there. The microbes are living there. Now think about this. What we have done, we have made their habitat full of antibiotics. Like suppose that this is an area where the microbes are living. In a gradual manner, we have made this entire area toxic, or we have made this entire area filled with antibiotics. Antibiotics. So now the bacteria who are there, or the microbes who are there, they will gradually evolve. They will gradually get the resistance against these antibiotics. They will learn, they will adapt to live in an environment where there is antibiotics. The same thing happens in case of humans also. Like when we are overusing the drugs, when we are overusing the medicines are not completely used by our body. If there is no such use of the medicine, it will be discarded by the body in form of waste material, in form of feces, in form of urine. And where it will be going? Into the environment. So through our waste material, again, the antibiotics are going into the environment. From industries, it is going into the environment. So we are making that entire environment full of antibiotic materials. The bacteria are evolving there. So now they are feeling like we are already living in an antibiotic habitat. So if we enter inside human body, even if they have taken antibiotic, what will be the impact on us? No impact, because they have survived from here. They have evolved here. They have developed here. They were reproduced here. So they are already having tolerance toward these antibiotics, and now they are entering into human body. Even if we take medicine, there is going to be no impact on these microbes, on these bacteria. Okay. So that is how the antimicrobial resistance emerges. Then the environmental sanitation in the hospitals and all. Okay. Many a times, like you might have also seen this, that suppose you have purchased some medicines during any such disease or any such problem, then what we are doing, we are simply throwing it away like a normal kitchen waste. The hospitals which are there, the various pharmacies which are there, they are also doing the same. They are dumping huge amount of expired medicines or used cottons or used syringes directly into the environment. This is a hazardous waste which needs to be disposed of in a proper manner. But instead of that, we are simply throwing it away. And when we are doing that, again, it is going into the environment. Okay. At the same time, like the infection control practices in the healthcare sector. Okay. It has been seen that the nurses who are there was a study, and according to that, only 31% of the nurses and doctors, they are washing their hands after treating the patients. Now suppose that some of the patients are having bacterial or viral infections, or they are having some contamination. So the doctors and the nurses who are there, they are not properly washing their hands, they are not properly following the sanitary practices. Okay. Like they have, like suppose a person is wounded, he is also having some bacterial or other infection. They have taken the cotton, they have removed the blood, and then with the same hand, they are also treating the other person. So this also become a source of antibiotic resistance. Okay. Then social factors. Okay. Like we have got this habit, like normally you will find that right now we have got so many different social media apps like WhatsApp and all. And even suppose that, let us say, either you are a student or working person or anything like that, and you just inform anyone that I am having some fever, then you will get a number of suggestions in your family WhatsApp group or your friends WhatsApp group that you can take this medicine, that medicine. And we have developed this habit that, okay, if you are having fever, take this particular medicine. If you are having headache, take this medicine. If you are having cough, use this cough syrup. So we become doctor by ourselves. We have this social behavior now that all the people who are there, who are having internet and smartphones, they have become doctor by themselves. They are giving you advices, you are taking them, you are taking the medicines, and finally it is becoming a habit where we are abusing the medicines, abusing the antibiotics. Okay. Then cultural activities. Okay. See, we have various, like India is a country of diverse cultures and tradition. We have so many traditional parts or cultural part where there is events like mass bathing. People are going into the rivers for collective bath. Now, many of these peoples, they can be infected. They might be using some antibiotics. They may be having some drug resistant bacteria. And when they are all going into the river at once, the river water is polluted, and then it will spread to all the other people as well. Okay. So cultural activities can also become a source of these microbial or what we can say antimicrobial resistance or drug resistant microbes. Okay. Then antibiotic uses in food and animals. Okay. We are not just using antibiotics for ourselves. We are giving the antibiotics for our fruits and vegetables also. We are giving it to the cattle also for their better growth, for controlling infections in them. Okay. For controlling infections in the plants, in the animals, we are using antibiotics there as well. And now you know that from the plants also, they are going to be added into the soil, into the water. And from there, it is eventually leading to development of an ecosystem filled with antibiotics. The bacteria, the microbes are going to evolve over there. They will already have the resistance towards these antibiotics. And when they enter the human or other animals, now they will not be impacted by the antibiotics, by the medicines. The treatment will not be easy, or sometimes it might not be even possible. Like there is one simple problem of tuberculosis. Mycobacterium tuberculosis is the one which is responsible for it. But right now, we have several cases of multi-drug resistant tuberculosis and also XDR-TB, which is extensive drug resistant tuberculosis. So the Mycobacterium tuberculosis, it has evolved, it has become resistant towards the antibiotics, and then treatment becomes quite much tough. Okay. So that is the antimicrobial resistance. That is the factors which are responsible for antimicrobial resistance. What is the impact? How we are impacted? First thing is life-threatening condition. When the diseases cannot be treated, they become a threat to the life itself. They become a threat, like in case of XDR-TB or MDR-TB, treatment becomes quite difficult. We have just seen that in case of children, there is around 56,000 deaths due to sepsis annually just because of drug resistance. Okay. Then, see, if you look at the global scenario, around 1.27 million people have died as a result of antimicrobial resistance. Lesser number of people have died by HIV or malaria. Okay. So antimicrobial resistance is a greater killer than malaria or AIDS. Okay. So people are very much worried, people are very much concerned about AIDS or malaria. But then the antimicrobial resistance, which is again due to the human activities, is one of the leading cause of death now. 1.27 million people are dying due to the antimicrobial resistance. Okay. Then what is the other impact? We have worked so hard in the last 100 years after this discovery of first antibiotics. We have worked so hard. We have developed so many methods of treatment of diseases. But all these things are going into backstage. Why? Because now the bacteria have evolved. The medicines which we have developed, which we have experimented, which we have researched over such a long period of time, now they will go into waste. Now there is no use of them. Why? The bacteria have evolved. The microbes have evolved. Now they will not be responding to these medicines. So all those advances which we have made so far, it proved to be futile. It is proving to be futile. Okay. So that is another cause. Then, at global level, we have got so many goals like sustainable development goals, millennium development goals. We have made targets like we are going to reduce the infant mortality rate. We are going to reduce the maternal mortality rate. Okay. We are going to enhance the life expectancy of the people. Can you tell me these three things? What is the life expectancy in India? What is the infant mortality rate in India and maternal mortality rate in India? Can you tell me that in comment box, that what are these figures in the recent times? Okay. So all these goals which we have set, they are going to be sidetracked. They are going on backstage by the development of antimicrobial resistance. Okay. Then rising cost of treatment. That is also one of the major challenge. when the diseases are becoming untreatable, when the bacteria are evolving, then in that case, the cost of treatment is going to be quite high. Now, the people who are suffering from this, they already have, like if we talk about we are a developing nation, there is no such a culture of having health insurance. It is quite poor. The penetration of health insurance in India is quite poor. That is a very known fact. And in this scenario, the out-of-pocket expenditure for the common people is going to be quite higher. And there is no such guarantee that the disease can be treated as well. So these all things are going to leading to rising cost of treatment as well as more fatality. Okay. Now, so what the government has been doing, okay, basically we have got the National Program on Antimicrobial Containment, which was launched in 2012, and what it has done, it has strengthened the AMR surveillance network and it has also established laboratories in the state medical colleges. Okay. So in the state medical colleges, there have been establishment of laboratories which are just keeping a surveillance over the rise of antimicrobial resistance in various parts of the country. So first part is surveillance of the disease. Then we have also got the National Action Plan on Antimicrobial Resistance in 2017, and it has adopted a One Health approach. What is this One Health approach? One Health approach talks about the health of all the organism, the entire environment itself. We are not just concerned about the humans, but also about the animals, the plants, the environment in which we are living in. So when we talk about the health of the entire environment, entire ecosystem, that is what we call as One Health approach. Okay. So various ministries and departments, they are collaborating in order to implement this One Health approach. We have also got AMR Surveillance and Research Network, which was initiated in 2013. And what is the role of it? It focuses on generating evidence and monitoring trends and pattern of drug-resistant infection in the country. So it is looking over the trends, it is monitoring the pattern of drug-resistant infection in the country as well. Okay. Then we have got this Indian Council of Medical Research. It has started a antibiotic stewardship program across India, especially in the healthcare sector. Okay, means the hospitals, the nursing homes which are there it has started the project. Then the Drug Controller General of India, DCGI, it has banned 40 fixed dose combination. Fixed dose combinations are like various antibiotics are clubbed together. Like this is also one of the practice. You club 3 or 4 antibiotics together, give it to a person. You may be having any disease, it is going to treat you. Okay. So it's like we don't know which medicine is going to suit you. So we have clubbed 3 or 4 medicines and we are providing it to you. You can have either this or that infection or disease. Either of them will be treated with the help of fixed dose combination. Now, this is leading to abuse of antibiotics. You needed an antibiotic to kill tuberculosis, but you were given other also. You were given the antibiotic for dysentery also. You were given for other problems as well. Okay. So this is one thing which has been banned. 40 such combinations has been banned by the Drug Controller General of India. Then there is World Antimicrobial Awareness Week. It is also a global campaign that has been held since 2015 in order to raise awareness about this antimicrobial resistance at global level. Okay. Then we have also one thing. Since March 2014, we have the drug and cosmetic rules, which has got a separate schedule H1 to regulate the sale of antimicrobials. Now, government has made it mandatory to sell the antibiotics with proper prescription. Without prescriptions, antibiotics cannot be given. Of course, it is not enforced properly. That is one of the challenge. But under the rules, these antibiotics cannot be sold without proper prescription. Okay. Then we have got the Food Safety and Standard Authority of India also. What it has done? It has prohibited the use of antibiotics in the fisheries. Okay. So in the fisheries, it has prohibited certain of the antibiotics. Okay, some of the antibiotics. Then, even in meat and meat products, the government has imposed restriction on the maximum level of the drugs which can be used there. Okay. So we have been adopting that one health approach where we are not just looking at the humans, but also the other organisms in our environment. Okay. Then there is at global level, we have got this global antimicrobial resistance and use surveillance system. It was launched by World Health Organization in 2015, and it is integrating data from surveillance of AMR in humans and then medicine uses, AMR in food chain, AMR in the environment. So it is collectively looking at the entire environment, that what is the prevalence of antimicrobial resistance in our entire ecosystem, along the food chain also, in the food chain, in the environment. Okay, what is the antimicrobial medicine uses, and at the same time surveillance of antimicrobial resistance in humans as well. Okay, one more thing to add here, government has also started a red line campaign. Okay, so what is that red line campaign? Basically, you will find that if there are antibiotics, there is a red line over that. Okay, if you have any antibiotics, like if you have seen any antibiotics in your house or anything, you will notice that there is a red line over it. Now this red line means you should not be using it without a proper prescription. This is something which is not to be used. Okay, it is simply that without doctor's prescription, if there is a medicine having a red line, it should not be used. So it is a public awareness generation campaign launched by the government. Tell me one thing, did you know about it? Did you know about this, that the red line is for deterring you, for preventing you from taking this antibiotic without prescription? Were you aware about it? If not, then this is a challenge on the enforcement or implementation of this scheme, that people like you who are preparing for UPSC examination, even if you are not aware, then that is a serious challenge. Okay, so these are some of the steps which has been taken by the government in order to prevent the antimicrobial resistance. Okay, so we have seen what is this antimicrobial resistance, what are the factors responsible for it, what are the solutions, or what are the steps which has been taken so far, and its impact on human health. Okay, so that would be all in this session. Hope you enjoyed this. All the best. In the next session, we will be discussing more such topics related to health and diseases. Thank you very much. All the best.